Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we start the configuration of Fortigate 1. So let's navigate to the console. So Fortigate 1 and let's see the connections. So when you try to log in, you have to enter as an username or admin, no password, and click OK. Let's see what ports are available. So show system interface. Now if you click if you hit question mark, so here a space and a question mark, you will see basically all of the ports. But if you do like show system interfaces and hit enter, you will see basically the running configuration, and this is totally different. So again, show system interface space question mark, and I see no IP addressing on port 1 and port 2. Port 1 being Ethernet 0x0 in the diagram, and port 2 being Ethernet 1.0. So let's configure now port 2 facing downstream to the LAN. So config system interface, hit enter. Then you will say edit port 2. And let's now configure the IP address. So set IP 192.168.100.254, and we said it's a /24, so 255.255.255.0 subnet mask. Now we just hit enter. If you question mark again, you see that the last option end will end, so exit from this configuration menu and save the last config. So now I do end and hit enter. And let's do it again. Show system interface question mark, and I see that the port 2 now has an IP address here configured 192.168.100.254. Now we need to do the same for the upstream port. So for port 1, again Ethernet 0x0 in the diagram. Now I do hope that you have gone through the course and through the GNS3 free course and seen that the basically the internet appliance will allocate an IP address through DHCP. So what we will do now is on the FortiGate set port 1 or Ethernet 0x0 into DHCP mode, so that it will receive an IP address from the internet appliance, and then we will change this to static, as you will not see in any real world scenario an appliance with DHCP mode active. So let's do that. First, let's go and say configure system interface, edit port 1, and we will now say configure, so set mode question mark static DHCP or PPPoE. So we'll do DHCP. Again, to exit the configuration and save the configuration at the same time, and click or hit enter. We should now see two things happening. First one is the FortiGate having an IP on port 1 through DHCP, and second, a router, so let's say a route in the routing table, a default route pointing out to the default gateway, meaning the internet appliance. So let's check first of all for an IP, show system interface. Again, if you just do an enter on port 1, you will not see anything. You will see just set mode DHCP. In order to see the IP address, show system interface space question mark, and now I see that this is the IP address that has been allocated through, again, DHCP by the internet appliance. So let's check now also for the default route. So imagine that you have no prior knowledge on Fortinet firewalls, on FortiGates, and you want to find out what's this specific information. So see the routing table. Now there are some key points to remember if you want to look for information like configuration. You just go on show and question mark and see what information is available or what options. If you want to run a ping as opposed to Cisco devices, maybe you're accustomed with this one, you say execute, and then ping and so on, question mark. If you want to get specific information, you say get system or get router, question mark, router meaning for routing table. Now you would say info because it's IPv4 routing information, info 6 is for routing IPv6 routing information. So I now hit Q. So info, again, question mark, routing table, show routing table information, any specific or all the information. I would say all. So again, all, and hit enter. I now see that I have a default route, and this is our default gateway. So with all this information, I will now configure the router, the firewall to be statically configured, so it will not change. So this way, not causing any trouble in our lab. So let's say configure system interface, edit port 1. I'm using the tab key on the keyboard to autocomplete. So add and tab hits completes with edit, PO with the first port available, port 1, edit port 1. I'll now change it to set mode static, and I will set the IP. Let's see what IP address I have been allocated earlier. So I believe, yes, it's here. I will take this specific IP address, selecting it, right click, /24. Now, in order to end the configuration and save the configuration, and I will have to also configure the routing table in order to point as a default gateway to this IP address that I have seen earlier. So how do I do it? This is the default gateway. In order to check the routing table, you say show router static. We don't have anything here now because we haven't configured any. So let's enter one. Configure router static. Enter. Edit what? The first sequence in the routing table. So edit 1. Question mark. So let's say you don't know anything about it. Question mark. How do you do it? Set, again, question mark. You'll have DST for destination. So DST, what's the destination? 000/0. And again, what's the device? So gateway out interface or tunnel. What's our interface? It's port 1, mapping to Ethernet 0x0. So let's say set device port 1 and set gateway. What's the gateway? Let's see again what was the default gateway we have received through DHCP options. Let's go up, and this is the default gateway. So that's it. So one space missing, set gateway, and now let's check and see if we have this in the routing table. Show router static. Enter. So this is the configuration. Get router info for IPv4 information on the routing table, and all. So now we have a statically defined by us, so not received through DHCP options, a statically defined IP route in the routing table, and show system interface space question mark. We see that now we have these two IP addresses, one on the uplink and one on the downlink. So that will be all for this lecture. Thank you again, and see you in the upcoming lecture.